You make your own luck. It's a well-known phrase and one you use when you want to make someone having a bad day want to punch you in the face. Now, is that really true? Well, you can argue that to your heart's content down in the comments, but the repetitious bad luck of Ferrari F1 driver Charles Leclerc at Monaco is a strange case indeed. The Monegasque was born and raised in the Principality, and has really left his mark on the circuit in recent years. Sorry, that joke was shit. Regardless, I thought it might be interesting to delve into his poor luck around the circuit in a little bit more detail, so make sure you're subscribed and roll that title card. With Monaco only being transformed into a racetrack for a very small period of time each year, very few categories are actually able to run around the Principality. As a result, it would take Leclerc 12 years after starting his racing career to drive at home for the first time. It's the 25th of May 2017, and qualifying for the third round of the inaugural Formula 2 Championship is about to get underway. Charles would arguably find himself in the best seat on the grid, driving for Prema alongside fellow Ferrari junior Antonio Fuoco, and he'd used this to take pole for the feature race on Saturday, edging out ART's Alex Albon by 0.02 of a second. All was looking good, but that was only half the job done, as this was the year before F2 switched to larger, wider cars, meaning it was still very much possible to pass around the tight streets of Monaco. Plus, this was a time where half the drivers on the grid were fucking lunatics, so whether there was a gap or not, you could expect a dive bomb regardless. Anyway, while the racing may have been different, one thing that has stood the test of time is Dallara's F2 cars being generally shit. The initial start aborted after Fuoco and Chicken Man stalled on the grid. When we finally got underway, Leclerc held off Albon going into turn 1 and was comfortably managing the race despite Nicholas Latifi practicing for Abu Dhabi 2021. It would be the second safety car period where things began to come undone, however, as despite building a sizable gap to Oliver Rowland in second, Leclerc managed to throw it all away on his in-lap to the pits, coming out in 4th position. And that wouldn't be all, as an improperly fitted tyre forced him back into the pits again on the restart, dropping him right down to the back of the field. And if you think his bad luck couldn't get any worse, suspension damage led to his retirement on lap 27, and to him starting the Sunday sprint race from 17th on the grid. This would at least be a chance for a fresh start, but all Leclerc needed was a fresh front wing, when he got a face full of the Colonel trying to pass Norman Nato. Another electrical issue would take him out of the race with only 8 laps to go, but at least the Nightmare Weekend wouldn't stop him dominating that year's championship and getting a promotion into Formula 1 with Sauber for 2018. Leclerc's debut season for the struggling outfit would turn the heads of many, but the curse of Monaco would come to pass yet again. The Monegasque had another strong qualifying, starting Sunday's race from P14. Points were going to be hard to come by, but Charles was charging hard in the closing laps of the race, with his sights set on Brendan Hartley in 11th. It had been a pretty good performance then, but his brakes had other ideas, choosing to retire to one of the yachts 6 laps from the flag, and taking poor Hartley out with them. With Josh Revel now in tears, Leclerc was going to have to wait another year to try and finish the Monaco Grand Prix, and in 2019 he'd rock up to his home race wearing the colours of the Scuderia. Ferrari had pulled their finger out in 2019, and with a totally legal power unit had looked strong in the early part of the season. However, come qualifying, Charles seemed to think he was in the Sauber again. This was also the period of time where Ferrari strategies were, let's just leave it interesting. Leclerc had struggled to put in a clean lap all session, and was already in trouble for missing the weighbridge before the final runs in Q1. He'd done a lap only good enough for P12, however Ferrari seemed to think that this was okay to see him through to the next part of qualifying, thus leaving him in the garage as everyone and their mother shot past him in the closing seconds. Now starting the hardest race to overtake in 16th, Leclerc was on a mission from the outset, pulling audacious moves on both Lando Norris and Romain Grosjean, before an attempt on Nico Hülkenberg ended less favourably for the homeboy. The collision with the wall damaged his floor and left Charles with a puncture, requiring him to drive slowly back to the pits to avoid the loss of any more downforce. Leclerc, however, decided he didn't need any of this, speeding back to the pits and providing fans each with a bit of his Ferrari to take home as a souvenir. The damage was so bad that the team retired him on the spot, and with everyone's favourite pandemic just around the corner, it would be 2 years before Formula 1 returned to the streets of Monaco in 2021. That being said, with the hot pile of shit Ferrari were in 2020, maybe it's a good thing that they gave it a miss that year. Anyway, the package was much improved in 2021, and despite never looking in a place to challenge for wins all year, Leclerc looked mighty around his home track in qualifying, taking provisional pole ahead of Max Verstappen. The Dutchman though was on a better lap, and stood a good chance of taking P1 on the grid away, but luckily for Leclerc, he was able to crash and bring out the red flag, so conveniently he was still in pole position. Say about that one what you will. The Monaco curse seemed to have been lifted, but apparently Ferrari's incompetence was still a thorn in the side of the Italian outfit, with engineers only opting to check one side of the car after the crash. As a result, when Leclerc left the garage to go to the grid on Sunday, he reported a gearbox issue and had to be withdrawn from the event. And you think that would be it, but oh no, as Leclerc returned once more to Monaco only a couple of weeks ago, to drive Niki Lauda's Ferrari around the Principality as part of the historic event going on at the time. But despite this only being a show run, the Monegasque still couldn't keep it out of the wall, wrecking the rear of the classic car in what was later deemed to be another brake failure. So that really doesn't give us much hope going into this weekend, now does it? And I'll be honest, I wouldn't be totally surprised if we saw Leclerc's car catapult itself into the harbour at some point. That said, many insiders are hailing the work Charles has put in over the off-season, and how he significantly changed his character and driving style coming into this period of new regulations. Could then we see a more mature Charles Leclerc finally break his Monaco curse this weekend? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. But there you have it. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and get subscribed for the Monaco Grand Prix comedy review later on this weekend. You can also check me out on my other socials by following the links down in the description and in the top comment of this video. Finally, a big thank you to all the patrons for supporting the work I do, and I'll see you all in the next one.